Lawrence back, throws it down the field, and a dead run. ETN is gone. ETN got behind Joey Porter Jr. and got to the end zone for the touchdown.
Didn't do enough over the course of the 60 minutes to secure victory. Thought we were closing the distance in the second half. Had a miscommunication and gave up a long score. We turned the ball over on the other side, and you're not going to close distance and finish ball games, giving up chunk plays and turning the ball over.
Hi everybody, welcome to the Extra Point presented by Microsoft Surface. I'm Missi Matthews with Bob Pompeani. It is a Monday, a short week. The Steelers getting ready to face the Titans on Thursday night, but let's go back to yesterday at Acrisure Stadium, a 20-10 loss to Jacksonville. Not what they wanted in that game. There's just many areas that you can point to of where something went wrong, and maybe if it went right, it would be a different outcome.
Yeah, I guess we'll take the officiating out of this discussion because there's nothing you can do about it. I think we all know what we saw there. But the Steelers, once again, Missy, did not start well. They had opportunities down the field. The first play of the game was a well-designed, well-executed, except it didn't get executed play that should have been done. It was in the middle of the field.
Could you imagine if that hit?
I mean, it's the kind of stuff that can change how things go, and getting the crowd more involved if they weren't already after James Harrison came out with that terrible towel wave. But that didn't work, and so then there's a sack. It results in the 3-and-out, and then many 3-and-outs. And once again, the Steelers in the first half have not done much to help their defense from an offensive point of view. You have to get more first downs. You have to get longer drives for two reasons. Number one, it gives you an opportunity to score points, but number two, it keeps Jacksonville off the field. And the way their offense has been going, when they're on the field, they can do some damage.
And I feel like we keep repeating ourselves every week. It just feels like in terms of the offense, it's the slow starts, waiting to come back until the fourth, but it's the misfires, the miscues, not being on the same page, the drops every week. It seems to be the same things. This week, not so much the penalties in terms of, offsides and holding and different things like that other than the field goal.
Right.
We'll stay away from that. I'm just saying in terms of, the offensive and defensive units. So those were cleaned up, but there was just still so much. And as you said, for the Steelers defense, they were doing everything they could. 3 turnovers, 3 sacks to stop Trevor Lawrence and company. But when they were able to give the offense the ball back, it was not in a short field like we saw against the Rams. Still, they were not able to capitalize, and that's how you end up losing a ball game.
And then everything on defense becomes even more magnified when your offense doesn't bail you out. Like, for example, yesterday, I thought if you look at the Philadelphia game, they gave up 31 points to Washington, but we're not talking about their defense getting gouged because they scored 38. Once in a while, your offense needs to help your defense, which is doing its best to try to keep you in games. It makes it more difficult. Plus, when you have 3-and-outs over and over, your defense is going to be on the field more and more. They get gassed. Next thing you know, the other team gets some longer possessions going. So it's incumbent this Thursday, I think, to get out to a good start. We talk about it every week, but they need to show it. It has to happen at some point, and what better way to do it against a team like Tennessee, which would, again, keep Derrick Henry off the field, which I think they have to do.
Yeah, and I think, losing Minkah Fitzpatrick, not that injuries can be an excuse for anything that happened yesterday, but they lost him so early in the first quarter. Somebody who really helps, especially when you have a guy like Joey Porter Jr. making his first start, to help those secondary guys stay in line and communicate with the inside linebackers on what they're doing. Not that, again, it's an excuse, but he's an all-pro player for a reason. There's a reason why they traded a first-round pick away to acquire him from Miami. But yeah, he's not going to be able to play on Thursday night. So the Steelers are going to have to do this all over again.
And I think you saw on the 56-yard touchdown to Travis Etienne, if Minkah was on there, I don't think you'd see the same kind of coverage communication problem that they had there. It was KZ coming in on an angle he shouldn't have. Joey Porter gets kind of caught in the crosshairs there, and he's chasing him down. That's how important Minkah Fitzpatrick is, but he won't be here. So those guys do have experience on their side. They need to make sure that they're just doing their jobs, keeping things in front of them, and not allowing big plays and communication issues to result in plays that can change the game.
And sticking with injuries, Coach Tomlin, of course, had his press conference today because the Steelers are playing on Thursday, said that Kenny Pickett is a game-time decision, definitively leaving the door ajar for him. He's dealing with that rib injury. He left right before the halftime. They were evaluating him. He was able to come back, started throwing on the sideline, realized, this wasn't going to work. And that's when we saw Mitch Trubisky, who came in and put together a touchdown drive, but then also forced it down the field a little too much.
Yeah, he was trying to be too aggressive, threw in the triple coverage, but if Pickett can play, that'd be great. And the fact that there is no structural damage, I think that's the one thing you think of. He really took a hit there by Gotsis, who I thought really pile drived him into the
No
ground.
flag on that one.
No flag on that one.
We said we were going to talk about penalties, but
I mean,
it's true.
It's just consistency in those kind of plays. You want to know, if one is called, then the other should be called. If you don't call the first one, then you don't call the second one. I get it. But as long as you're consistent, I think that's all coaches and players would want. But having said that, you know, when you think about a rib injury, you know how things that can be. It's like an oblique. Sometimes those things take a few weeks. But the fact that there's no structural damage and maybe it's just a pain tolerance, that hopefully he can be able to play on Thursday night.
And because of the short week, the Steelers have to put out a practice report today. That will not involve an actual practice. And Coach Tomlin said really Wednesday will be the day they hit the fields. That's when Kenny Pickett has to show, all right, I'm good to go for tomorrow night.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, another interesting thing could be Cam Hayward. He's been back. He's been practicing. Boy, they need something to help on their run defense, especially facing a guy like Derrick Henry. And I think Cam's absence has been noticeable, and it's certainly affected the way they've played and the way they have not come up with stoppages in key parts of 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5 situations. So if he could play, that would be huge. I originally thought he'd wait until Green Bay. That seems to be the prudent thing. But again, they need to win now, and this is a big game for that.
And I think, too, Will Levis, we saw what he was able to do against the Falcons, his first career start, but he had that winning recipe of a good run game, special teams helping him out with short fields, and it seemed like he was not afraid to go down the field to hit DeAndre Hopkins and kind of start getting different guys involved.
See, the one thing with him is, Missy, we've seen his arm. In college, he can throw the ball 65, 70 yards, and with ease. It's almost like a flick. However, the one thing that got him into trouble in college was pressure, and I'm wondering how much pressure the Steelers, who like to put pressure on all quarterbacks, not just rookies, but especially rookies, can have in this sort of situation. This will be the first road game that he started in a place like Pittsburgh. It could be demanding. If the crowd's loud, it could throw him off. He's a young quarterback. I would take my chances doing as much as I can to get in his face as much as possible. Well,
and especially when you have guys like TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, even the rookie Nate Herbig.
Playing very well.
Nick Herbig, forced a fumble yesterday. We've seen Marcus Golden. It just feels like those edge rushers have been really a strong point of the Steelers' defense.
Yeah, and the linebackers inside have played better too. I thought Cole Holcomb maybe had his best game as a Pittsburgh Steeler yesterday. So if you get that kind of help, it should make things a little easier. But again, to me, the defense is not the problem necessarily. It's the offense putting points on the board and making the stress of the defense a little bit more minimized.
I think, too, though, we're so used to TJ Watt or a scoop and score, Alex Highsmith, those guys kind of saving the day as we saw against the Browns and various other games. The interception on the first play of the second half against the Rams by 90, those are just things, the splash plays. So maybe it's Thursday night. The Steelers typically play good. Even though it is a short week, it's prime time. And, yeah, they really need this win against the Titans, especially after losing to Jacksonville in the AFC yesterday.
And the AFC North is one of the more competitive divisions you'll find. Everybody's over 500. So that means all these games do matter. Cincinnati took care of business yesterday. Cleveland should have. They kind of messed up at the end. And Baltimore is 6-2. So there are a lot of head-to-head games yet. There's a lot of this story to be written. But man, they're AFC games. They're meaningful. They're tiebreakers. All these things come into play later in the season.
I think because the next two are still at home like yesterday, take care of business there because then you're on to Cincinnati, on to Cleveland, or reverse there. But those are games that we've seen what Joe Burrow is able to do since his calf seems healthy and they're rebounding. So,
but you need a little cushion, and having two wins at home, and you got to win your home games. Pure and simple here. I don't care whatever the reason, you got to win them.
All right, well, the next one's coming up quickly on Thursday night, the Tennessee Titans coming to town. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Extra Point presented by Microsoft Surface. For Bob Pompeani, I'm Missi Matthews. We'll see everybody next week.